Mr. Carter.
Sterling, how are you, sir?
We both have our Sterling Staffing Solutions shirts on, the blue and orange
Representing.
logos. I think I have the old logo. You got the new one.
It's a combination of old school and new school. That's how we're bringing it.
That's it. That's it. How's it going today?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. It's Thursday. I think we've missed a couple of weeks, right? At least one
Yeah,
week.
we have.
So
It's been a busy month, right?
yeah, good to be back in here. Good to be back in here. So, what about yourself? What have you been up to this month?
Same. Just trying to keep all the balls in the air, as they say. It's been busy. We just had a quarterly meeting. I think yesterday, right, when we were talking about all the wins we've had in the first quarter. So it's been good. It's been good. Looking forward to a strong year this year. I think it's going to be a good year for us.
Same here. Same here. Excited, motivated. So, what's our
Uh,
topic for today, Sterling?
Man, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about what happened at the Oscar Awards, right? Pretty crazy situation. We had some an altercation, I guess we could say, between Will Smith and Chris Rock, and there's a lot of people talking about it, but we really want to dive in a little bit deeper and really talk about the why behind the actions, and really try to get everyone's feedback too. We want your opinion as well. We're going to give ours, of course, but we want to hear what you guys have to say. So yeah, that's the topic, Steve. So what do you think? You think we'll have a good one today? Good
It should
discussion.
be a good one. It should be a good one. I know a lot of people have put some time and energy on this topic. We hope to bring a different perspective. But yeah, it's a talk of the town. Everybody's been talking about it, so
It
why
is the
not? Let's
topic.
jump
Yeah.
in on it.
All right. So we'll start with number one, which is the details. So Stephen, tell us what happened on was it on Saturday or Sunday? Sunday night.
Yeah, so it was on Sunday. So there's a lot of different perspectives in terms of what led up to it. But essentially, Chris Rock was on the stage at the Oscars. He was the host, and of course, the host is typically a comedian, and they bring a little comedic relief in between the different awardees or presentations. And so he made a comment about Jada Pinkett Smith, something to the tune of "I love you, Jada, and I'd love to see you play in G.I. Jane 2" or something. And it was
Right.
basically a reference to her bald head. The history behind it is that, and if anyone has watched The Red Table before with Jada Pinkett Smith, she's been very open about her struggles with alopecia, and which is a disease that makes your hair fall out. And it's something that she's been interviewed at in different times, and she's kind of is very proud of her bald head. But she has received a lot of flack in the media about that, especially social media about that. And I think that there was an assumption, maybe from Will Smith, that he was aware that Chris was aware that this was a medical condition. And also, there's some talk that there have been some jokes made about Jada or Will in the past from Chris Rock that were not taken very well. So I don't know if it's a combination of all of those details or just that night, but the bottom line is that Will Smith walks up on stage while Chris is presenting or doing his little story. He slaps him on live TV, and he pimp walks off the stage, just back in his seat, and then he commences to tell him, "Keep my wife's name out of his expletive mouth." It was pretty. It was pretty. The slap heard across the world is what they're referring to it as. What do you think,
Exactly.
Sterling?
Pretty amazing, Steve. You did a great job telling that story. Just a couple of things to add in from behind the scenes that we've heard. And you're absolutely right, Stephen. In 2016, on the Oscar Awards, I think Chris Rock said something to the effect that Jada Pinkett Smith was boycotting the Oscar Awards, and he said boycotting Oscar Awards is like him boycotting Rihanna's panties, basically trying to say that Jada only being more. I think at that time she was in a TV show and not in the movies, saying that it was insignificant for her to even boycott
Right.
the awards show. So that was behind the scenes. There was the alopecia. Then there's the fact that Chris Rock had a movie about hair. in regards to the sensitivity of, that women have around hair, and his experience with having girls. And so there's all of that stuff. Then there's the whole thing about how Will and Chris have actually worked together before. Chris is played in several episodes in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Their families have hung out together. They were supposed to be pretty good friends.
Mhm.
So there's so much speculation going on. It's just pretty interesting. Everyone's trying to read into it a little bit, but the big question is, and I'll pose the question, and then we'll start answering some of these or reading some of these comments. Is who was at fault? Was it was it Will's fault? Was he justified in doing what he did, or did he overreact, or was it Chris's fault? Did Chris say something that was inappropriate or disrespectful? So we want to hear from you guys.
Or is it C, a combination of both? Or
You're right.
maybe it's no one's fault at all, and maybe it's just social media and just TV and reality and all of this
Exactly.
other stuff to just take stuff too far. So whose fault is it? I don't know.
I don't know, but let's see what we have here. So we got a few comments. So James Gill says, "What's up, Carter Brothers?" So hey, James, good to have you on. Thanks for chiming in. Our Alpha Pi frat brother, Mr. Gary Woods, is in the house. What's going on, Gary? Good to see you, Noop. And Danny Tree says, "Hello, hey Danny, how are you?" And another fellow PT, I love that. Thanks for being on. And Ebony Star, I'm sorry, I couldn't believe it. Will shouldn't have done that. Bad move. So we'll talk about that, Ebony, because you have a valid point there. So
Absolutely.
let's see. So Danny says, well, they're actors and all. Who knows? We definitely are all distracted by this. I question everything these days, and that's a really good point. I mean, some people have said that maybe it was staged, maybe it wasn't real at all. Maybe this was all part of a ploy to get everyone to go crazy on social media and publicity. So Mickey says, our cousin, she says, the one question that I have is, did Chris know about Jada's hair diagnosis? And you're spot on about that. Stu and I were just talking about it, Michelle, and I honestly don't think that he knew. I don't think he would have said an off-kilter joke like that if he knew that she had an actual disease. But who knows? We're all speculating at this point. And good deal. My brother-in-law here, Mr. Sean Perkins, he says, what you're not going to do is slap me. You don't slap a man, punch, or tackle. Will would not have made it back to his seat. Well, obviously, it looks like you have Chris Rock as your profile picture, so we know who you're in support of, Sean. So
Sterling, Sean brings up a good point. So I just gotta chime in with Sean for just a moment. I'm with you, Sean. There is no way in hell Will would have made it back into his seat. I don't have that much composure nor discipline. I will be truthful in saying that I have not reached that maturity level yet. We would have been on stage, and it would have been a much worse scenario because he would not have made it to his seat.
It's interesting, Steven, because and you're absolutely right, and we should stop here on this topic, because Chris Rock in an interview talked about how he was bullied when he was a kid. He was always the skinny guy, and he was always bullied. And one day, and you guys should read up on this. One day, he put a brick in his backpack, and the bully that was bullying him, he hit him across the head with the brick, and then he continued to just beat the guy, so almost to the point of death. And he said since then he realized that he had an anger issue, and that he has been going to counseling to make sure that he controls his anger so that he doesn't overreact in situations. And so it's interesting that that we say that. I don't think anybody else could have been that poised as he was. So anyway, it's pretty interesting. So,
but Sean brings up one point that I talked about with a few of the guys. So there's three things as men, and I want the men on the group to chime in. There's three things as men that we just can't let go. One is the slap.
Exactly.
It's too disrespectful. You can punch me. You can punch me all day long, but if you slap me, it's a level of disrespect that just you can't get past. Two, if you spit on me. if you spit on me, there's going to be a problem. We're just,
True.
yeah,
True.
I can't get past that. And an old school one that I didn't think of, but my uncle, a couple of my uncles on my wife's side are in town, and they said if you kick somebody, if you put your foot on someone, and so that was
Mhm.
something I guess kind of more of an old school thing that used to happen.
Right.
There was a
Right.
level of disrespect, but we were just talking, and those are the three things that we talked about that a man can never take and just let go. And I just don't know if I could have let it go, man. I just not me.
Well,
I'm not mature enough, Sterling. I'm just not there.
well, but the other side of it, if you think about it, when Will Smith came up to him, obviously Chris had no idea what was about to happen. His hands
Sure.
were behind his back, and he was leaning forward. I think he actually thought that Will was going to actually say something in his ear or something, and he slapped the crap out of him.
Taste out of his mouth.
I think Chris was really more surprised, and Will didn't waste any time about turning around and walking off. It was almost like it was almost like he was kind of like I'm gonna what's the word, I can't even think, sucker punch you, and then just walk off before you even have a chance to react. I don't think he really
Right.
even had a chance to even gather his thoughts on what had just happened. He was just like, wow, I just got slapped,
Yeah.
by Will Smith. So anyway, we better continue here. This is interesting conversation. So Gigi says hello, and then Jose says, "Hey guys, I think Will let us down. It's sad to be manipulated by Jada. He's
Oh, we're
well
going to
off
talk
the
about that
network."
too,
Now,
Jose.
that we're going to
We're
talk
going to
about,
get into
Jose.
that.
You were
Yeah.
absolutely spot on with that. There's a lot to talk about there. Reading caption, LOL, working. Uh, Let's see. Rico says facts, Mr.
What's
Carter.
up,
Facts.
Rico,
Yeah,
my brother?
that's going on, Rico. When single, divorced, you have no business talking about another man's wife.
Okay.
Valid, valid.
Yeah.
Gigi says, tell him. All right. Yes, Chris Rock looked shocked after all these years. Yeah, he was pretty shocked.
He was. He
So,
was. He was.
God, so many great comments. So we better keep it moving here. So we're gonna go through our little detail here. So we talked about you guys talked about who was at fault, Will or Chris. That's really just a question for us, just to ask you guys. Now we're gonna kind of talk about, or Stephen, or do you want to chime in on this? What are
No,
your thoughts?
no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
So we're just gonna go and really kind of talk about what has maybe affected this whole situation, right? Public opinion. There's so much there. I guess I'll start with it. When we think about what's happened with Will Smith over the last year to year and a half, and what's happened with his wife, his marriage being on public display,
Mm-hmm.
having entanglement issues with his wife, and was it August Aslina? I
I'll
think
see
that's
that.
the name
Yeah.
of the fact that, and it even gets deeper than that, right? Because it was Will Smith's son's best friend that was staying at their house because he was going through mental issues. Jada is ends up sleeping with her son's best friend, who's going through mental illness, by mental issues, and depression, by the way. So you could say that there was some amount of taking advantage of the situation. Just there's all those different things going on there, and then you have to deal with that and deal with your marriage and deal with everyone's public opinion on what's happened all across social media. There's
Right.
memes going everywhere. The whole world has an opinion. Everybody's saying that, everybody's telling Will that he's a punk, and that how do you let your son's best friend have infidelity with your wife? I don't know. So there's a lot that goes into public opinion. Stephen and I have also talked about how social media actually affects people, and bullying and that kind of thing. And so, what do you think, Stephen?
Well, I think someone mentioned on our comments about Will's book. So first of all, I want to encourage anyone who has not read his book, and I'm more on the Audible side, so I listened to his book. Outstanding book. It will give you a lot of perspective about Will and his upbringing, why he's so successful, and it actually brings perspective on this conversation. But one of the things that Will has also been bullied all the way from the Fresh Prince days back in the day as being a soft rapper. Like he was always like the soft kind of cartoon kind of guy rapper, not the real guy. He would always get tested or bullied, and he talked about he had to fight a lot just to get respect. So it's interesting that both Chris Rock and Will have a similar story of being bullied, as youngsters. I think that has a lot to do with it. But definitely the public opinion. And, what's even deeper is that, and I'm sure some ladies will attest to this. Unfortunately, it's so different in the media about a woman's infidelity versus a man's infidelity. Because had Will been the one that had been caught up with all the infidelity stuff, honestly, would we be hearing as much about this whole entanglement stuff the way that we do when we hear about? I mean, she gets railroaded for something that men do every day, and that part of it isn't fair either.
So, and I agree with you there. I think that the issue for me is that I think Jada took an opportunity to have this public discussion on Red Table Talk because that's her thing, and we're gonna have real conversations on Red Table Talk. I don't think that Will was really wanting to have that conversation in front of the world, and I think it put their relationship on public display. That's the issue that I think it's embarrassing. And one thing we'll get to and is that whole masculinity thing and men's our sense of respect, our egos, all that kind of good stuff, and how does that affect you as a man? And when people are questioning your manhood, I don't know, So good stuff. We got a bunch of comments here. We'll jump on here real quick. And then Stephen, it looks like we missed your topic. I don't know how I skipped it, so we'll go to it here in just a second. Okay, so let's see here. Where are we? There's a bunch of them. Okay, so Mickey says, I'm completely disappointed about Will's actions. He was wrong. I must, however, say that Will has had a 30-year track record with no singular major incidents, which is true. So I can't just discard him. Due to one mistake. True. This clearly was out of character for him. There's something going on much larger at hand, and you're absolutely right. That is it. We're going to talk about these toxic relationships. That's for sure. I'm stinging too. I don't believe in open marriages, but that's their business too. That's another good point too. We have to talk. Well, let's talk about it. I mean, really, the question is, who wanted an open marriage? And was one party just going with the flow, or did both parties want it? Because sometimes we do things because our significant others are asking for us to do it, even though we may not want to do it. And how does that make you feel at the end of the day?
Yeah.
You think about how free, I like to have this free kind of a free people, free flowing kind of relationship. Their children kind of do whatever they want to do. They claim to be kind of asexual or whatever the term is, where they can go either way. It's really a different kind of, relationship.
But it's Hollywood. It's Hollywood, though. It's also the element of Hollywood. And I just know what I've heard and what I've read about Hollywood. But it's almost like some of these marriages, unless you conform to the crazy lifestyles of Hollywood, then that's the only way your relationship can survive. So it's interesting. I saw Jim and Jay Lamont is on here. I bet he could give us some insight onto Hollywood too. But go ahead.
That's right. So Gary says the joke was insensitive, but that's par for the course with comedians. Very true, Gary. However, Will's mental health challenges exploded all over the stage on national TV. Right. I think we can all agree to that. Spot on. You should read the book. And Chris, I agree with you 100%. Like Stephen was saying, Will Smith's book was amazing. It was so good that I listened to it on Audible. Then I went back and bought the book because I just wanted to have the book, the actual physical book. But one of the things, Stephen, that he also talked about is as a kid, his dad was very abusive to his mom, abusive to everyone. And his way of trying to get out of that or to keep his dad from not abusing his mom was to tell jokes. And so always his escape from life and solution was just to keep everybody laughing. He really felt like he was not ever truly man enough to do what needed to be done, because when he should have been fighting for his mom, he was telling jokes. So there's all that kind of inside stuff in there. It's spot on. So
Lots of
yeah, LaChris says good book, great read. So LaChris obviously likes the book. Hey, Jam and Jay says, what's going on, LU brothers? Good book. Everybody loves the book. Awesome. All of this proof that folks need Jesus. So true, Danny. So true. Yes. And on and on and on. I love all the comments. We better keep it going because the comments are going crazy. We won't get through. So
yeah.
Let's talk about a topic, Stephen, and I know you want to take the lead on, and because there's something you're passionate about, but masculinity versus femininity.
So yeah, so this was just a question for me, guys, and this is for the men and for the ladies as well. There is at some point for every man, there's so men just in general, respect is a big thing, especially African American men, for a lot of reasons historically that we don't want to go into. But respect is a big thing,
Right.
and at some point, because of respect and maybe even ego, at some point there's a breaking point for any man that says that I am going to not allow this to happen, right? And some people can talk about the fact that, oh, you should never resort to violence, you should handle it in a different way, and that's definitely true. But whatever the way that you handle it, at some point people have a breaking point to say that I can no longer be passive and let this go. It has to be addressed in some form or fashion. And what I don't know, and I guess bringing the question up is, what I don't know is that um, if as men, as humans, we are animalistic at some point, and I think that in every form across the animal kingdom, you see that fighting happens in every species of on God's green earth. So I don't take that resorting of violence is such a kind of abnormal reaction. But I do think that whether or not it's violence or some other act, there's something that has to happen once you get to your breaking point. And we'll talk about why he got to his breaking point in a little bit. But when you don't act, then then as a man you're seen to not be masculine enough or almost feminine by not acting or doing something to serve as a protector of your wife or whatever the case may be. What do you think, Sterling?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a really, really valid point. It's tough though. I mean, when which Will is our age, right? He's right around 50, probably. You know, he's been in this. He's been in the world of being a star and being a movie star and being in the public eye for almost his entire career. He's a comedian, so he understands that being a comedian, sometimes you say things that are off kilter. I don't know. I don't know if I can give him a pass for that circumstance. And I think that it would be one thing if someone pushed Jada, or tapped her butt or something like that. Then that would justify a physical response. But
Right.
if it's words, then I don't think you come especially those kind of words. It wasn't like he said something
True.
to that level that was that derogative. I mean, he actually started with saying that I love you, Jada. When he said, I love you, Jada, when are you going to star in G.I. Jane 2? I think I think there's a lot going on with Will that we all can see, that we don't know what all is going on, but there's something going on that for him to respond in the way that he responded, he overreacted. Not saying that he shouldn't have been upset about the situation, but I do think that he overreacted.
Let's jump to these toxic relationships, bro, because I think
we need to get to that. So we just
I
did
think that's where we need to go.
toxic relationship.
I'm this is real. Okay, so again, I'm talking. So let's just talk to the ladies for a second, Sterling.
Let's talk to the ladies.
Women. You guys know you have the power.
Absolutely.
You know the button to push. You know how to dangle guys and make them do things that they would not normally do to act outside of their character. I 100% believe that Jada manipulated my boy Will. I blame Jada. I blame Jada. I'm sorry. I blame Jada. It
You
is
know, one of the
Jada's
things
fault.
that I thought, one of the
Jada's
things,
fault.
and you bring up a good point. And one of the things I thought that was so amazing when I'm looking and assessing the whole situation, and people don't talk about this, but first off, when Chris Rock first said the joke, one, Will Smith laughed. He was laughing in the very beginning.
Exactly.
Obviously, Jada was not happy about the joke. He turns and he looks at her, and she has some kind of expression. Um, I don't know what the expression was. I guess maybe she was disappointed. So then he goes and he does what he does, which is a point of overreaction. But when he comes back to the seat, Jada is basically stoic. She has no comments. She's not supporting her man for protecting her, anything like that. Even after the fact, the next day, instead of her saying, you know what, I support my husband regardless of what he did that to protect me. She said something like, we're all in a state of healing. Like, what the heck does that mean? And to me, it seems like Will is jumping through all these hoops to prove to Jada that
Yes.
he can be the man that she wants. Because at the end of the day, I think Jada has always been looking for a Tupac. Let's just keep
Yeah.
it real.
That's it.
So
That's it.
Will has
Will has
always been
never
trying to
been.
be the Tupac for Jada, and he will never be it. And Jada is never going to be satisfied with Will Smith because he's not Tupac, or someone like that. So it's, that's. But what do you guys think? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about these toxic relationships. Let's get into the comments here real quick,
Yeah,
because I'm sure we've got some good
and
ones
still,
here.
I've got some comments on my side I need to
Okay,
share
go
as
ahead.
well.
Go ahead, and I'll go after you.
Okay, so Aquil Safir, one of our LU alums as well, says men and women cheating is not new, but she took pictures with the young guy she was cheating with. Wrong on so many levels. Facts, facts.
Facts.
And then he also says that the reflexive fighting takes absolutely no strength. Chris showed Chris Rock showed true strength by not reacting to something that could have truly hurt Will. Love the show, brothers. And then Jeff Liscombe, also LU, says that Will was at fault. How can you walk up on stage with violence, 6'2", 200 pounds, and slap a 5'9", 150-pound person? The bigger man took a hit and kept his cool. So Jeff brings up a good point, sir, real quick. And I was just like, Stella, you and I were talking about it earlier. So there's a meme that's going on that had a picture of The Rock on top of of Will, and basically shows, asks the question. So if The Rock had made the same joke, would Will Smith have gone up on stage and slapped him? And we all know the answer to that,
Yeah,
right?
we know the answer.
That's held up. So why would Will have to act so hard with Chris Rock? Like,
Because he knew he could. So
because
he
he
was
really
he
could,
was
right?
he was then being the bully that was bullying him and bullying Chris Rock for when they were kids. Isn't it kind of
Exactly.
crazy how everything comes full circle? And speaking of which, man, Chris Rock handled that whole situation like a G.
He did.
He took it and laughed. Two, he's so poised and just sit back. And I mean, I just don't think that he could have done it better than what he did. I actually love and respect the fact that he didn't let it phase him. He continued on with the show. He handled it like a complete professional. So spot on, Chris Rock.
He was definitely the bigger man, and he has a level of maturity that, again, I would not have been able to achieve.
we
But
know we know exactly. We know the old S dot would have come out. We could tell stories about the S dot
oh my
of
goodness.
old, but we won't go there. Not today. So Stephanie says very unfortunate. Michelle says, imagine you as the man of your house inviting your son's friend to stay with your family due to psychological issues, and your wife betrays you by sleeping with the young man. To add insult to injury, August made a son so bogus, in fact, that he even used. Yeah, I mean that's it in a nutshell. I
Yeah,
mean, what do you do in a situation like that's the ultimate level of disrespect right there? You talk about disrespect. Now that's the disrespect part. It's not getting pimp slap is great, but when you have a wife that's doing that to you, I don't know. I don't know.
man,
But
she's dangling a boy like a. That's just not right.
remember the scene in Five Heartbeats. I always have to fight to prove my love. He had to fight to prove his love. and that was for her benefit, completely manipulated to her will.
Completely manipulated.
Yeah,
Completely.
Jeff,
Right on
Jeff,
board.
you
Right on
get it,
point,
man.
Jeff.
And Stephen, you said it too. I mean, I think that women understand their power, and sometimes they use it for not the right things. You know, they can use
Right.
it for good or for evil. I think that Jada is using her power in the wrong way.
Yeah.
So he used Will's name in the same mentioning that Jada lacked willpower. Oh wow,
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
I didn't hear about that. That's deep.
Yeah, yeah, completely out of character for Will, and that's true. I mean, Will has never done this before.
True.
They weren't together when the incident with August happened. That's a good point, Chris. But
It
yeah,
is.
that's
It
a good
is.
point. But he still kind of took advantage of the little young kid that was having psychological issues, that was living at your house, that was best friends with your son.
Uh-huh.
That's a little, I don't know. To each their own. No open marriage for me. Stay single.
Yeah. True.
That's a good question. Agreed. It's all fun and games until
Exactly.
I like that choice.
All fun and games until it comes out on the red table and
So it's not.
everybody's talking about
All right, I'm just going through. We got LinkedIn. You as a big fan, I rushed to buy Will's book and learned a lot about him. Considering his family issue with abuse, I'm shocked that he took that route, which is true. I think
it.
everybody is.
Yeah.
So Parnell, Alpha Pi, one of our big brothers. What's
So,
going on? What's up, Noops? I think Will's intent was in the right place to protect his wife, but the timing was wrong. He could have dealt with that backstage, but he was out of order when he put hands on Chris Rock. Yep,
yeah,
agreed.
absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
100%. Okay. So let's move on. And we've got a bunch more on here, Stephen, but I know we're gonna run out of time. So so here's the question. So everyone's been talking about what Will did to protect
Right.
his wife and the love of his life. So the big question is, how do you really protect someone you love? What's the right way to do it, or the wrong way to do it, or what do we consider protection? Or
Right.
and men, we're providers, we're protectors. How do you protect someone that you love? What do you think, Steven?
Well, I think, obviously Will and Chris move in the same circles. I mean, I'm just speaking of this specific situation. I mean, Will is a powerful guy. Chris is a powerful guy. I'm sure that he could have made some power moves behind the scenes to make an impact on Chris, to let him know that this isn't good. He could have just had a man-to-man conversation with him, maybe after the first incident, to say, "Hey, I don't appreciate this, the joking that you're doing. You're taking it the wrong. I mean, it's going too far." Obviously, he never had a conversation with Chris about this, right? Maybe Jada was upset, but Will never stepped up and had the conversation with Chris about it. Something could have happened prior to this night, prior to it bubbling over in the public. What do you think, Sterling?
Yeah, I mean, when we ask that question, how do you protect someone you love? I mean, I think that I really think it comes both ways.
Right.
You know, I appreciate that Will was trying to show his love by trying to protect his wife. I also think that Jada, understanding the I, I guess the situation, and the fact that Will Smith was potentially going to win his first Oscar ever in history, after I think it said $250 billion in ticket sales, and I don't know, numerous movies, and he should have won an Oscar a long time ago.
Yeah.
Seeing that he's responding out of emotion, grab your husband and tell him to calm down and sit down, and we're gonna handle this the right way because we're a team. I think that there's got to be a way that if you truly love each other, you're complimenting each other, and you're making sure that you show that you love each other by the right way. And so I don't think that him going on the stage and doing that. I mean, this could have been a historic moment for him. It was a historic moment for Samuel L. Jackson. There's so many historical moments that happen in the Oscars that we're not even talking about, simply because of this altercation. And I think it's unfortunate. So
Agreed.
but
But obviously, I think the point that we made earlier is that the point that we were what we came to is that
Mhm.
showing that you protect someone you love shouldn't be violence. It shouldn't be
Right.
something a violent reaction, right? So many other ways to do that. It's just showing that you support them and that you have their back, and that no matter what decision they make, whether or not it's good or bad, that you can love them either way. And I think that that's one of the points that you brought up, Sterling, is that she had opportunities to even support Will after he made this mistake and he made it on her behalf, and she
Exactly.
still didn't seem to be
Still.
there for him, throughout the process. So and I think someone just made the comment: is Jada really protecting protecting
Exactly.
Will?
And to me, what I see is I see a broken man that's unhappy, that can't satisfy his wife. It doesn't matter what he does. She's just not going to be happy.
He's
And
not gonna be
you can just see it. I mean, after something like that, how do you not step up and support your husband when he was defending your honor? I
right.
mean, it doesn't even make sense.
Exactly.
So, unfortunate, so unfortunate. But last question, and then we'll go to some final comments because I know we have some comments in there. But the question is now, what happens next?
Right.
What's the aftermath? So there's been a lot of stuff that's been put out there. The Oscars are meeting. They're saying that in 15 days, they're going to decide on if he's going to be suspended from attending the Oscars, expulsion, etc. What they haven't talked about, which is good, is they haven't talked about taking his Oscar away, which I would hate for. I think that would send Will Smith over the edge. But I mean, what do you guys think? What happens next? What are the lessons learned here? Should Will stay in this toxic relationship? Is that the catalyst for all of this stuff? What happens? What do you think, Stephen?
So one thing I will mention, and this is kind of in line of what happens next, but I'll tell you what didn't happen. We talked about how Chris Rock handled this like the true professional, like a G. G is short for gangster, whatever.
Right. Sorry,
Whatever.
I did go a little. You fine.
But no. But what didn't happen was Chris Rock didn't press charges,
No.
and he could have pressed charges, right? In fact, what my understanding is that the police came to him multiple times trying to put pressure on him to say, "You need to press charges. You need to press charges," and he said he wouldn't handle it like that. And I think that is another sign of how professional Chris was in this situation. I know that they interviewed. I think it was. Gosh, I can't think of this other comedian's name right now.
Jim
Jim
Carrey.
Carrey. Jim
Jim
Carrey.
Carrey.
They interviewed Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey said, "I would have sued Will for 250 million."
Exactly.
Just
Exactly.
just for the and a lot of people would have, even if they didn't file charges, they would have still sued him. So you just got to respect Chris for what he didn't do after the fact. But what I do think that Will needs to do is to apologize to Chris Rock. I don't know if that's happened yet. It
He
didn't
had.
happen at the Oscars, but I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
the next day he apologized on Instagram. I guess everything is now done through social media, and it was just a letter on Instagram. He didn't publicly go, which is pretty funny because he does videos for everything, but he couldn't do a video giving a public apology in regards to the situation.
right.
But man, and you bring up a really good point, Stephen, in regards to he could have sued. Our Chris Rock could have sued Will Smith. And the other thing that Jim Carrey was saying that you can't see, because I guess they cut this out, was that after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, he received a standing ovation. Did you hear about that? Like people
No.
were clapping and standing up and all that kind of good stuff. And Jim Carrey was like, what has Hollywood gotten to where something like this is actually not only acceptable, but it's embraced and celebrated. So
but listen, you bring up a good point. But here's why that's so important, and I get it, because with where we are right now with social media, Sterling, everyone feels empowered to say whatever the hell they want to say on social media,
good point.
and they would never say that in your face, right? And so what happens so often is that so many people disrespect other people on social media and make these comments that they would never say in someone's face, that at some point when someone reacts in a way that just basically says, look, You're not gonna say that in front of me. Like you can say it on social media, you can
Right.
say it on a comedy stage, but if you and I are on this in the same place, and you're gonna have the disrespect to say that to me while I'm in the audience, now you've gone too far. But
Right.
I think the clapping in the audience was just basically to say at some point, all of the stuff that you say behind the scenes, it has a
Has an
consequence.
impact. It
It
has an
has
impact.
an impact.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the consequences of your actions?
Obviously, Chris Rock was not,
Right.
but he handled it well. All right, so before we close out, we'll go through. We got a lot of comments here. We want to make sure we showcase a few of them at least. I haven't read the book. This is from Jam and Jay. He's our superstar who's been in Hollywood and can give us some true insight what's going on. I haven't read the book, but I have heard a lot about what he dealt with growing up. I believe with all he had to endure was brewing that night at the Oscars. It was a sad moment for that to happen with two black men on a worldwide platform. It's so much to unpack.
It is. It really
Well
is.
said. Well said. So GD says it's definitely seen a lot. Establish boundaries, but never resort to violence. What would Jesus do?
What would
I like
Jesus
that,
do?
Danny. Spot
That's it.
on. Spot on. Valid point. It's up to us to give him a pass, though. Should we give? Well, I think we should give Will Smith a pass. He's never done this before. You know, he made a mistake. People make mistakes in life. Hopefully, he'll get past this. We'll see.
Right.
Why do we feel like we have to hold him accountable?
Yeah.
I think the world holds everybody accountable, but I definitely understand where you're coming from, Chris. Every good gets tired. That doesn't make non-masculine.
True.
Okay. True. So Gigi is on it. I love it, Gigi. Okay. And Danny says 110%. She did, Stephen. Okay, preach. Hey, Carolyn from Five Strong and Langston University.
Mhm.
Kristen Brown says Will has too much to lose. He has a lot to lose. A lot to lose. I will only speak for myself. I love a man that protect, profess, and provide, but not instigate a situation.
True.
Yeah, definitely. And men want to be providers and protectors. He can't be Tupac.
Kristen, I see you just trying to add insult to injury.
But
You just
he
wanna-
can't. He can't. And that's the problem. He's trying to be Tupac, and
Yeah.
that's just not
Yeah.
him. That's not his personality. She's extra sometimes. When Chris hosted Oscars in 2016, he said some very mean things during the show.
He did.
Absolutely, Stephanie. We talked about that earlier. Very good point. Kristen Brown. He's from the hood of Philly.
Really.
About the Smiths. Oh, this is good. All these great comments. Do you feel that Will playing the role of Richard Williams recently had anything to do with his behavior? He's known for becoming the characters that he portrays in movies. Good point, Chris. I mean, he definitely was in his Richard Williams moment there. He was feeling it. Jada is toxic and proved it at the Red Table Talk on Sunday. She pushed him. I agree.
There's no doubt.
I think anyone could got it that day. He was in a different place. He could get it that day. True. Yeah. Jeff. I mean, I want to say Jazzy Jeff, but Will Smith had enough. He was at his breaking point. Jeff's being messy. Gigi says Stephen is spot on. The power from a simple look on her face changed Will from laughing at the joke to all of a sudden angry enough to slap Chris. In that same manner, a simple touch in his arm to say, "Let's handle this later," could have done it same as well. Absolutely right, Latoya. That's what's like. Come on, if you love this man, you're not gonna let him go up there and make a fool out of himself. It just doesn't happen that way. So, all right. So, man, there's a lot of comments. I don't think we're going to be able to get through them all. I'm going to skip around this a little bit just to a few people that haven't already chimed in. So, our good brother from another mother, Greg Be Nice, says Steve definitely would have slapped Chris Rock no matter what happens in the household. You can't let another cat disrespect your wife. Chris did not study his joke.
And that's Chicago speaking right now, right there.
You know,
Greg is. That's why we right here. We right here, Greg.
Exactly. So just going through. Carolyn says Will's anger was misdirected. The person he really wanted to hit was Jada. Facts. She's the one that has emasculated him. We were going to talk about being emasculated. We were going to talk about that. This is crazy. Like, I feel so sorry for Will Smith and what's happening right now. And you're right, the world's laughing at him. It's crazy. So Tony says, what's going on, Tony Scott?
Hey, what's up, Tony?
Handle situations with dignity and respect. So spot on. So spot on. Derek Carey, Mr. Gumby. No one would have ever remembered that joke the next day if a slap had never happened yet. It just wasn't that big of a deal. It just wasn't. So not to that level. Will needs to verbally apologize, not on a written statement, but he probably didn't write. Good point.
True. Good point. Yeah, true.
So great comments, guys. They just keep going. I wish I could get to all of them. Brooke, hey, Miss Brooke. She said, dang, sad I missed this combo. It will be on our podcast, and we'll replay on Facebook here in a few minutes. So thanks, everyone, for your time. Any final notes, Stephen, before we go out? Just don't slap. Don't pimp slap Stephen, because if you do, your world is going to end. I think that's
going to be a problem. So that point is beyond everything else except for two dudes having a different kind of conversation. It's all the gentlemanship or whatever is out the door.
It's out the door.
I think this really does. We joked a lot about this, but at the heart of what's going on here, really, and Sterling and I talked about this. I sincerely felt very bad for Will. And we talk about mental health, and we talk about just the challenges of depression and trying to live up to expectations of different people, the impact of childhood, abuses and things of that nature. So many things come out of different situations at different points in your life. And as someone said before, Will Smith is, he's human just like all of us, and he's allowed to make a mistake, especially if that's not something that he is a pattern that we've seen before. But that just goes to show you that guarding your mental health and making sure that you're around positive people that are looking out for your best interests. It doesn't matter how much money you have. People are going through the same similar kind of struggles. And so it's just important to know that you're in a good space with good people that love you and trust you and support you. What do you think, Sterling?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think we all can agree that we feel sorry for Will Smith, that obviously he's going through something, and it's more than just the words that were said on that stage. And I'm really concerned about him and his mental health. And I think toxic relationships is really kind of the buzzword that I would say in regards to our conversation today. If you're in a toxic relationship, it can really push you over the edge. And how social media can have such a big impact, because I think that if their relationship and situation wasn't on public display every single day, he may have been able to control the situation as well. But we have to be able to control our peace, and we have to be able to have a healthy relationship and a healthy life. So if you're having a situation that you feel like you're losing control, there's people out there that can help you. You can make a phone call. There's mental health counselors out there, social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, or just talk to a friend. We just want to make sure that you guys are okay, so that you're not making those kind of mistakes, because this was a mistake that can be corrected. Will Smith will be fine, but you may make a mistake. Something may happen, and you may not be able to bounce back from it. So we don't want that to happen to you. So let's take care of each other. Let's make it a great week. And we'll be back hopefully on next Thursday. We'll try to stay on track for our next podcast.
Absolutely. Have a good week, guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.
We'll deal with a friend.
Yes, sir.
Going out.